Hi everybody, today me and Newton want to read to you a poem, and the reason I want to read this to you is because this is my favourite poem, and I think in this poem are many of the lessons that have been so valuable for my life, in many ways summarises my philosophy, and the poem is called If by Rudyard Kipling. Let me first read it to you and then I'll tell you its importance to me. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to, broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and to hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings and not lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And what's more, you'll be a man, my son. Now this is my favourite poem. I often read it when I feel in a tricky circumstance. And the reason is because virtually every single line of this poem tells you something useful about how to live a good life. But you can summarise all of it in two sentences. First is Stoicism, that you can't control the outside world. Things will happen, good and bad, but the only control you have is how you react to them. Two very famous lines, meeting with triumph and disaster and treating those two impostors just the same, are in fact hanging above Centre Court, the entrance of Centre Court to Wimbledon, the famous tennis tournament, which is currently ongoing. The second thing is being of action, a person of action. In the poem it says, don't just be a dreamer, don't just think about stuff, do stuff. Like, you use your effort. It talks about nerves and sinews, about filling 60 seconds worth of distance run. In other words, it's not just the case of sitting back and letting the world happen to you and dealing with it, but it's also a case of you go out and strive to make things better for yourself, to try and make a difference. And no matter what the result of that, in the poem it talks about losing your life's work and having to kind of build it up from scratch again with worn out tools. No matter what happens to that effort, you treat it, the outcome, with stoicism, knowing that the outcome is never guaranteed. You're not guaranteed if you put work in to get reward out. But that doesn't matter, because you know that whatever the outcome is, you're willing to risk it and you can cope with it mentally. So for me, that's why it's an inspiring poem. It talks about effort, but it doesn't talk about entitlement. It talks about the ability to cope with life and not presume that life will treat you well. Therefore, I think it's a mixture in there of kind of realism about how the world is, but also inspiration about how we can deal with a world that doesn't always deal us the right cards, but is still a world where we can win, and still a world where we can be happy and peaceful. And so I hope for all of you that this poem provides you some inspiration. And when you're feeling down or when you're facing a challenge, you can read it and gain the same strength that I have when I read it.